Welcome, everyone. Today, we're going to be playing some additional games with a yellow aggressive deck. The list we'll be using is the one on the right, and it's the same list that I explained in my complete deck guide for this deck. I will include a link in the description, so if you want to learn more about the role of every card in this deck, the general strategy, mulligans, stuff like that, just watch the deck guide video and then come back to this one. All right, let's jump into some games. All right, so let's look at our mulligan. So we definitely want to keep Prepare for a Wild Night, and we'll full mulligan everything else. Oh no, we'll keep the wizard because the wizard is really good with Prepare for a Wild Night because it guarantees that we can play it on turn 3. But actually, we'll keep Penguin of the Falling Leaves just because if for some reason we brick on the rest and get no penguins, it would be really sad. It's really unlikely, but right when we look at our hand, planning out how it's going to go, we're going to play Wizard Penguin on turn 2, Falling Leaves on turn 3 with the card draw card. So it's all right, and then 2 Penguin Who Zooms. So without the Penguin Who's +1, this card is not strong at all in the deck. It actually only serves one purpose, which is to go with that card. So that will definitely be our rod. Um, all right, so another yellow. We'll see if it's a yellow. Oh, pot stirring. Okay, pot stirring is also very good. It's stronger than Wizard Penguin in this deck. All right, so we'll play the Penguin Who Zooms as the rod. And then let's see. So the question is, do we play pot stirring on turn 2? And the answer to that is going to be no. And the reason for that is we yeah, what's it called? When we on turn 2 will be the wizard penguin, we can't actually use the pudge from it. And since it enters flopped, that's a perfect turn to play it. But the nice thing about pot stirring penguin is that on like we have 2 prepare for a wild nights, and this deck means there's still 6 additional card draw cards in there. And so we'll probably get to check the yellow pages through drawing both of these. Okay, so what else do we play as a rod? So option 1 is Penguin Who Zooms, and the other one is BuddyUp. So it's a little, I think we'll use BuddyUp just because we're going to see 10 additional actions from playing both of these. Plus, we'll be drawing another 12 cards. So there's 44 cards in the deck. So we're going to easily see another 18 cards this game. And we just need one more finisher. So I think, statistically, this is not going to get us in trouble. All right, so we'll play Yellow Wizard Penguin. And so the question is there any world where we'll be able to play both of these next turn? And I don't think so, because even if we drew another pot stirring, we wouldn't have the rods to play it. So, all right. So, and again, it's actually good that they played the Penguin of the Falling Leaves because, right, we want to lose every vibe check with the deck. And the reason for that is they can have a bunch of rods. Both of our win conditions, so put your flippers in the air and buddy up, rely on us having more penguins than they have. And so the less cards that are in their hand and the more that are rodded, that are turned into rods, the easier that's going to be. All right. So, yes, it's kind of actually. So the question is, do we actually want to play Penguin Who Zooms out this turn? And I think we do just because, do we? We haven't seen a penguin who's late to the party. All right, so as the rod, we're gonna play put your flippers in the air, and so the real question is, do we play penguin who zooms now to get this back in our hand? But I think we don't. I think we're gonna be greedy and hold on to it. Next turn, we can play 2 action cards, so we'll be able to play pot stirring penguin and penguin of the falling leaves. So that's going to give us 3 pudge. We have 3 pudge here, and we'll have played this Prepare for a Wild Night and this one. So as long as we hit 1 check the yellow pages, all right, well, that was not our night has been pretty unwild so far. Um, so yeah, so let's see. Okay, so all right, so we still have penguins for this upcoming turn, and I think I'm happy we kept the penguin who zooms because if we end up not getting additional card draw, if we end up getting the penguin who might bring a +1, we can get a lot done with penguin who zooms. So the question is, we're starting to get to the point in the game where I'm not so excited about using the buddy up as a rod, just because we do need to start thinking about finishing the game off. So, well, okay, so how many more turns are there going to be? So there's 5. I have 5 right now, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in my hand, so 11. So naturally, we will draw 12 at the beginning of the turn. So next turn 14. So we only have 2 more turns left, ideally, before. Well, we'll use a BuddyUp, so that's 13. So depending on how many cards prepare for a wild night, but that's only going to get spells. So, oof. Okay, so this is some sort of special Mega Penguin deck. All right. All right, so we got more card draw. So this game might go a little longer, and I'm not actually sure what position we're in. So okay, so I would like to keep Penguin Who's Late to the Party, just because if we can get that out with its boosted stats, that means our buddy up doesn't have to take as many flop as many penguins. So I think we want to keep this in our hand. I think it's unfortunately it's time for PenguinWhoZooms to become a rod. I really, really want a check the yellow pages. And so this is another situation where you don't want to play both prepare for a wild night on the stack. So this is actually a perfect situation to show this, because we'll play the first prepare for a wild night. That is going to hopefully get us to check the yellow pages. There's still 4 in our deck. And okay, look, we got one. Perfect. So statistically, that was not so unlikely. And now we can play check the yellow pages. But had we put both prepared for a wild night on the stack, then we would have ended up drawing. Yeah, then we would have ended up not getting the check the yellow pages. Now we only got 1 penguin from there, so that's not ideal. So are we going to be able to actually win this with Buddy Up? That's a good question, because we each have 4 penguins. I have 2 more in my hand. Okay, so I have Not Your Keys. So we might end up playing Not Your Keys this upcoming turn, just to like trim their board down a little bit. As I'm thinking about how to get the end, how to close out the game. Yeah, because now it's getting closer. They're at 10. We also have Daydreaming Penguin, which doesn't have any targets right now, but that could be useful in order to close it out. In order to like take one of their penguins off the board, like this penguin who's late to the party. Like let's say that they ended the turn on 14, then it could buy us another turn. All right, so we do have a good hand. We do have everything now to go wider, but can we actually get the penguin who's late to the party activated? So we need 1, 2, 3. So I think no, I don't think we can, because if we do flying penguin, then flying peng. Well, should we play a rod? So I want to do not your keys. Can we do this and prepare for? Yeah. So I think we will just go with not playing a rod this turn. Yeah, because the penguin who's late to the party wouldn't be activated. So we're gonna do this. Then we're gonna do not your keys on the shy penguin. And the real goal we're trying to do now is get penguin who's late to the party into its 8 vibe form, so that when we do buddy up, we need to just flop less penguins, because then even if they go really wide on the board, we'll be okay. All right, so they're down to. All right, so we will now. Okay, so always start with card draw. So we'll start with the prepare for a wild night. So let's see what we draw. But I'm pretty sure we're going to do. Okay, and this deck is definitely a deck that could be running Yum Yum. So we really need to be thinking about Yum Yum now, because this is not. Well, is this the starter deck just with a yellow Mega Penguin in it? Now this is a foil yellow Mega Penguin, so they might have won it in the recent Bling Blizzard event, or Bling Bonanza. I forget what it was called. All right, so let's see what we got. Okay, so we got more card draw. And so the question is, okay, so would not your keys actually be helpful here? It would take them off of being able to play Yum Yum, but then they can always just play another penguin next turn. So I think thinking about playing around Yum Yum, I just want to draw as much as possible. And I do have nine Pudge available, and they're not at 14. So I'm going to play Prepare for a Wild Night. And then that's going to enable me that if I get to check the yellow pages, and there's 3 in my deck right now, so I have about a 50% chance to hit one. So that's not too unlikely. I somehow feel like I should have played more rods. Okay, we did hit the other check the yellow pages, which is perfect. And so now we can play check the yellow pages, and then we're going to have a really full hand. Now, one thing about this hand is it's pretty light on penguins, and we'll want to maybe keep some in our hand for if they play Yum Yum. This is also why it's so nice to lose the vibe check, because we get to react to what they do. So we're going to be able to decide exactly how much we have to go on the board in order to still be able to win with Buddy Up. So when we look at our hand now, we have we have a lot of spells, and we have a lot of penguins, and we have penguins that draw cards. So I think we're in a really strong position here. All right, so let's see what's happening. So, and this again, this shows why it's really nice to be losing the vibe check as well. Because look, they have all these rods, but they're not helping them. Now, I still am wondering what's the fact that they played this Mega Penguin. I just still am not sure if there's some like super strong secret tech in here or not. All right, so I think the safest way we can do this is we definitely want to get a penguin who's late to the party out. So we need to play 3 more penguins. So I'll play penguin who's late to the party. Then we'll play a flying penguin, and then, or sorry, penguin who might bring a +1. All right, so what do we want as our rod? I think not your keys is a okay rod, just because I don't think we'll need 2 of them. And so, okay, so we have 8. So I think at this point, there's really no set of cards that will make us lose this game. That's also the really nice thing about BuddyUp as a finisher, as opposed to Not Your Keys, because when you play BuddyUp, Not Your Keys, or as opposed to Put Your Flippers in the Air. Because if I play Put Your Flippers in the Air on, let's say, the Penguin of the Falling Leaves, they could respond by doing Not Your Keys to ice the Penguin of the Falling Leaves. But that is going to, yeah, you know, then that will make the Put Your Flippers in the Air not work. So, all right, so they're doing Not Your Keys on my Daydreaming Penguin. So this is really nice because I can actually, in response, use the Daydreaming Penguin to get rid of their penguin who's late to the party. I don't think it actually really matters in the context of this game, but it's a clean play to be doing. All right, so then we now just need to play Buddy Up, and then we'll end up winning the game. Well, I think the only question is there anything they can do about Put Your Flippers in the Air? Because that's going to be less clicks. But okay, I'll do the safe play. So we'll play Buddy Up. Then we just need to flop all. Well, we actually don't have to flop the Mega Penguin. So I'm starting to think that this is just a starter deck with the yellow Mega Penguin inside. One thing that is, yeah, we got knocked down to 14, but with 14, you'll still win the game. All right, so we will up. Nice. All right, 2 for 2. All right, looking at our mulligan, right? We're trying to get card draw and flying penguin. So we've got one piece of card draw. So we'll mulligan the rest, and we'll just see what yeah. So we're just gonna keep the card draw, and then let's see what we get. All right. So this is not a great hand because we just have this one penguin who might bring a +1. So it's better than no card draw. I guess we have a lot of pudge from the pot stirrings, but we don't have any check the yellow pages or prepare for a wild night to go with it. So, okay, so we got the wizard penguin. All right, so again, the best rods at the beginning of the game are the 2 finishers. So, because those are not going to be used until the final turn. And we have 7 more finishers in the deck. And statistically, okay, so if there's 7 finishers in the deck and we have 46 cards in there, that means that roughly every 7 cards will get a new finisher, and we're gonna draw a lot more than 7 cards. We're probably gonna draw another, like, 10 to 12 cards. So, yeah. And on top of that, Buddy Up is really the better finisher, especially against yellow. The only thing that Buddy Up struggles with is um, against green Mega Penguin. Okay, so what penguin do we wanna play this turn? I think we'll play a wizard penguin because even if we play the penguin who might bring a +1, this penguin can only draw um it can only draw a penguin, and what we really need is the card draw actions. So yeah, so we'll play the wizard penguin. So what becomes the rod? Pot stirring penguin is pretty much just better than yellow wizard penguin in this deck, just because it doesn't enter flopped. So we'll play the wizard penguin this turn. We also want to lose the vibe check now. And so wizard penguin actually, it's kind of a benefit in this situation that it enters flopped, because when it enters flopped, I will lose a vibe check, and I'm really just trying to get to the card draw cards in this deck. So I'm looking for check the yellow pages, and I'm looking for prepare for a wild night. So Yeah, so we got that. And so now let's see what happens. Oh, okay, so we got a card draw card. Now, the thing that we really want now is a flying penguin. The reason we want the flying penguin is oh no, we don't need a flying penguin because the wizard penguin, I was thinking this was a pot stirring. All right, so we've got the extrovert. We don't have any way to deal with it. Well, I guess we have not your keys, but again, we'll be able to outscale the extrovert. Like an extrovert penguin can maybe get to be like 18 in size. So even put your flippers in the air will be able to be larger than it, but BuddyUp will definitely be larger than it. So okay, so we got a flying penguin, which is great, and I don't really want to use any of these as a rod. So I'm going to do the penguin who might bring a +1 because maybe we'll get something to use as a rod, like a like a penguin of the falling leaves. Well, that didn't happen, so I guess so. The question is, do we want to use not your keys or pot stirring? So next turn, we're going to play two penguins, so that'll be two pot stirrings. So I think we can afford to use a pot stirring. Well, do we need not your keys against yellow? That's a good question. Because yeah, there really is nothing. I think because we're just gonna win. Well, maybe we'll want to do the extrovert. So let's do pot stirring. Um, because if for some reason we just don't draw any finishers, we'll be sad that we didn't have the not your keys left in our hand. That being said, I think we'll draw something because again, we're gonna see 5 cards now, and then 6, 7 the next 2 turns. So that's already statistically we'll find there's 7 finishers in there. So we should be able to get to a finisher by just in this next turn. That being said, there are games when the finishers are all at the bottom of the deck. What did we get? All right, so we got a finisher, perfect. But okay, so for BuddyUp to work, we need to be wider than they are. However, for BuddyUp math, you don't need to count the inquisitive penguins because they can't win the vibe check. Plus, even if they could, they're only vibe 1. So right now we're actually up 1 in BuddyUp math, but we need to do 2 Pudge to play BuddyUp, so we're actually tied in BuddyUp math. However, we have way more cards in hand. We have 6 to their 3, so we should be able to go wider. And again, like Penguin Who's Late to the Party, we're gonna hold that in our hand to try to get it to its activated form, just because that makes BuddyUp math so much easier. But all right, so they didn't play anything. All right, so we have 2 pieces of card draw. So I think it's time to say goodbye to Not Your Keys, just because now we really want every penguin we can get. And we're gonna play 2 pieces of card draw this turn. Wait, can we even play 3? Wow, we can even play 3. So that's pretty because we have 9 Pudge. No, we only have 8, so we can only play 2. All right, so we always start with Prepare for a Wild Night if we're gonna play both, just because there's some chance that what we draw from this would change what we do. And since we're in the action phase, getting the more optionality is better. That being said, I don't think there was anything that would have changed what we were going to do. But I think it's just good practice to do that. All right. So overall, I feel really good about this game as well. And again, this looks like it's the starter deck and the this aggressive yellow build is really strong against the starter deck. So looks like looks like we did well there. And all right, so now what do we have? So Penguin Who Zooms is not really great in this situation, just because I mean it's okay that we have a flying penguin. So basically, in this situation, it's a 2 Pudge penguin that we can just keep bouncing with flying penguin. Okay, so they played a penguin that doesn't mind goodbyes. So one thing to think about, as always, when playing yellow is Yum Yum. However, they only have 3 Pudge, and so we're at 9. So we're gonna try to close out the game in the next 2 turns. So what will we need to do? So let's use one buddy. Yeah, let's use one buddy up because then we have the flexibility of having both finishers. And so now we definitely want to use all of our Pudge. It's a little sad that we oh no, we can do the yeah, do we want to wait, what do we have to do? No, we want to do the wait, let's just undo this. Okay, so we want to do yeah, because we're gonna do Penguin Who Zooms, get the flying penguin back, play the flying penguin, other penguin who zooms to get the penguin who might bring a +1. Okay. I'm not sure if I did that quite right. Um, but that's you know, I still think we're in a really good position because what's it called? Because now we're going to be, yeah, we're going to be able to close out the game this upcoming turn. All right, so yeah, so we're at 12, but yeah, so there's no point to play any finisher. So we'll play just check the yellow pages just because if they do have Yum Yum, it'll be good to just have as full of a hand as possible. So let's see. And with this deck, the average amount of cards you'll draw from a check the yellow pages is, I think it's something like a 44% chance to draw, or 40% to draw two, 20% to draw three, 20% to draw one, or 30% to draw one, and 20% to draw zero or something. I don't know. I did the math once. Well, actually, I asked ChatGPT to do the math, but I don't remember it offhand. I think that's one thing whenever you're building a yellow deck to keep in mind is if you're running both check the yellow pages and Prepare for a Wild Night is to just, and you can just ask ChatGPT to do this, just do the math of what the expected value is of each of those card draws. And that will help you kind of figure out the type of deck you're building. And so this happened when I was building the yellow control deck. I ended up actually cutting check the yellow pages because it was just a bit more action heavy. And when I did the math, the average card draw from check the yellow pages was only about 1.5. And to play a 3 pudge card to draw 1.5 cards is just not a good deal. All right, so we definitely want to activate the penguin who's late to the party. Is that going to be possible? Yeah, I think so. We will. Oh yeah, with a flying penguin, it's definitely going to be possible. So I think daydreaming penguin, no, PenguinWhoZooms will become the rod. Other PenguinWhoZooms will get the penguin who's late to the party back, or the penguin who might bring a +1. Yeah. One one problem with this deck is because of where I have my webcam, you sometimes can't see all the penguins because you end up going so wide. All right. So the question is, are they going to yum yum now? Because if they yum yum now, well, they can't because they only have four pudge. So yeah, so it looks like okay, so they did check the yellow pages. So in this situation, I'm gonna use put your flippers in the air just because it's less clicking than BuddyUp. And because they use their pudge, there's no way they can react. And make sure to always put your flippers on the air, not on a 2 vibe penguin. The reason for that is if they have got 'em. Because if they have got 'em, they can respond by doing got 'em to the flying penguin. All right, so it looks like, and so 23. So 23 is a pretty standard size you can get with put your flippers in the air. And so let's just compare that to the extrovert, which has been on the board the whole game. And so this is just something where like it's only for one turn, but for that one turn, you can easily outscale an extrovert with put your flippers in the air if you're able to go as wide as I did that game, which against a yellow starter deck is pretty easy because they don't have a lot of removal. But all right, that was that's the end of that game. So looks like we're on a good roll. All right, so this hand here has 0 card draw, 0 flying penguin. So we're gonna full mulligan it. I think one thing is with Daydreaming Penguin, it is a penguin that you can situationally keep in the starting hand. So let's say that we knew we were playing against a blue or purple deck, or a deck that was running popcorn penguins. In that case, we would want to keep it if we had a strong hand, but that hand was really weak. All right, so we now have 2 flying penguins. We're going to use put your flippers in the air as the rod because, like I said, it's always good to use the finishers as the rod. So we'll start with a flying penguin. And again, with this deck, you always just want to play flying penguin on 1, just because in the yellow starter deck, the flying penguin has a lot of different uses. Like it can activate extrovert, it can be used to get a shy penguin out. But in this deck, it's really just about getting out on board. And one of the things that Flying Penguin does let you do is if the opponent does not play anything on turn 1, then we can actually get another rod. And then on turn 2, we could have played Penguin of the Falling Leaves and Flying Penguin, and then played Check the Yellow Pages. So looking at our hand now, we have 2 card draws, which are the most important cards in the deck. We have 2 penguins, which we're going to need to get 3 pudge to play the card draw. So Not Your Keys becomes the rod. We'll play Penguin of the Falling Leaves because it's fish efficient. So yeah, so again, I think this is about as good of a start as you can have without one of the pudge generating penguins. So if you start your hand with Prepare for a Wild Night or Check the Yellow Pages, then you would want to keep, you'd keep a Wizard Penguin or a Pot Stirring Penguin just because this deck is very Pudge heavy. It's very hungry. It wants lots of Pudge all the time. And so that's another thing that's really nice about um, having all the super cheap penguins. It's because those super cheap penguins, a lot of which are actually Pudge generating penguins, work really well with the fact that you need all this Pudge to draw all the cards. And that's really what makes this deck work. It's this like feedback loop of I have all these penguins that generate a lot of Pudge. That Pudge is used to draw cards, which gets more penguins and more card draw cards, and it just kind of accelerates out of control. All right, so looking at this, I'm not going to play a Rod this turn just because I have I'm going to have 3 Pudge, which is all I need, and I can get the Wizard down. So the question is, do we want to play Prepare for a Wild Night or Check the Yellow Pages this turn? And the answer to that is Check the Yellow Pages because we have no penguins for next turn, but we do have an action for next turn. So, oh, Penguin with Hoops. So Penguin with Hoops is actually going to probably help our game plan. And that's one of the reasons why, like, if you're playing Penguin with Hoops, the question you should always be asking yourself is, does that additional card I'm drawing help me more than it helps my opponent or not? Because they basically just spent 3 fish to have a penguin that's going to be permanently flopped. And the question is, who does it benefit more? So I think there are certain cards, like if you have a penguin who's okay, right, you get an extra effect every time you draw a card. So in that situation, it would be very useful to have Penguin with Hoops out there. But in this current deck, like in this yellow deck, I'm not sure. All right, so we completely bricked. I wasn't even paying attention. I was too distracted by Penguin with Hoops. But it looks like we completely bricked on Check the Yellow Pages. So that's one of the things I don't like about this deck is there's a lot of randomness in the card draw. All right, now I really don't know what's going on. All right, this is some cooking up something special here. So this might be one of those like 5-color decks. I haven't seen one of those in action before, but I've thought about it because there's that one penguin that says if you have a penguin of all 5 colors, draw a card. All right, so we have all right, so do we want to activate Penguin who's like well, we really can't. So I think we want to make sure we have six Pudge on the board. So we just need to play 1 penguin. So I think we'll just play Penguin who's late to the party in its normal form. And I don't really well, do we want to play PenguinWhoZooms to get the Flying Penguin back? No. Let's wait one more turn. Hopefully we'll be able to get a Penguin who might bring a +1. Again, when we're thinking about this deck, PenguinWhoZooms, the only goal of that card. Oh, whoops. So we want to do Prepare for a Wild Night first, just because you always want to play that first because we're in the action phase. So additional actions will give us more optionality. So, and let's always let this resolve first so we can see. So actually I should have just let the Penguin with Hoops resolve because if the Penguin with Hoops had gotten me a Check the Yellow Pages, I probably would have played 2 Check the Yellow Pages this turn. So that was definitely a misplay. So I was too distracted by Penguin with Hoops to play correctly around it. But all right, so we're going to play. Okay, and we only hit 1 card off of the Prepare for a Wild Night. So in this game, so far we've done, wow. We've played 3 card draw cards, and the Check the Yellow Pages hit 0, Prepare for a Wild Night hit 1, and Check the Yellow Pages hit 0. That being said, what's keeping us in the game is actually the Penguin with Hoops, because that's drawn us 2 cards. So this is one of the things with this deck where it is very you will sometimes lose games because you're not drawing well. Or not that you're not drawing well, like every deck has that thing. It's that the card draw cards in this deck are very inefficient. So let's see what do we want to do next? So all right, we're only at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we're still 1 turn away from the end of the game. All right, so they have a big penguin. All right, so I think we're gonna play the Penguin who's late to the party in the big form, and I think we can't afford to hold 2 finishers anymore. Like we're gonna have to end the game next turn, I think. Yeah, so I think we'll have to end the game next turn. So can we do that? Okay, so there's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. we'll draw 2 cards, 14, 15. Okay. Then we use the BuddyUp. Yeah. So we have exactly the right amount of cards that we can end it next turn. And we'll play the Penguin Who's Late to the Party in its big form. And the reason we want to do that is so that we just need to do one BuddyUp to tap the points-rich Penguin. So, and again, when we're looking at how many rods this deck needs, you can see here that, oh, I should have thought, should have remembered they would have Penguin with hoops. But all right, we've been running this whole game only on 4 rods, and I don't think we really need more. So now we get to the point where, okay, so next turn, we're going to try to close out the game. So we need to get 3 more points on the board. We're going to draw 1 card from Penguin with hoops, 1 at the end of this turn, and 1 at the beginning of the next. So we definitely have enough cards. And we can play 1 rod, so we need to get 1 more penguin, basically. And PenguinWhoZooms, since we have a flying penguin, you can just think of it as a 3 vibe, 2 cost penguin. And so, yeah, so as long as we don't draw back-to-back spells, we'll be okay. And if we draw back-to-back spells, then it'll be okay, because then we will be able to buy another turn with those spells. So let's see what we get from Penguin with hoops. But I feel really good about our position now. The one thing that gives me some pause is this deck we're playing against is very unconventional. I can see that they have green, yellow, and blue together. Okay, so they are playing some removal. So, okay, so does that set us back a turn? I don't think it does, because we were having exactly the right amount of cards to end the game. And now we have 1 less card on the board, but we're going to draw 1 additional card with Penguin of Hoops. But it does mean we have to play everything from our hand. All right, so Penguin Who Might Bring a +1 is nice, because that will also get us a little more card draw. So I'm pretty sure we're going to get there, but it's not guaranteed yet. Because also they might have some more removal. All right, so let's see what's happening next. All right, so we have 1 more turn. So let's see. So yeah, so we can do Penguin Who Might Bring a +1, Penguin Who Might Bring a +1. But so then the Penguin Who Zooms. Yeah, so actually I don't think we're going to be able to end the game this turn, because we won't have enough. So I spent all this time talking about how we have enough rods, but now it turns out that I don't actually have enough rods to end out the game. All right, so they're at 12, so we still have 1 more turn. All right, so I think the Yellow Wizard Penguin can be the rod, just because at this point in the game, entering flopped. Oh, no. So let's play this first to draw. If we draw a flying penguin, we can end the game. So let's dig for flying penguin, because yeah, with flying penguin we can get to 14. Okay, we didn't hit it, so we'll play the wizard penguin, because next turn we'll be wanting to play the daydreaming unflopped, and we'll get the penguin who might bring a +1 back to our hand. So yeah, so again, we started with the penguin who might bring a +1. And the reason for that is if we drew a flying penguin, we could end the game this turn. So, okay. So let's see what's happening. Checking our rods just to see. All right, so they're going to play Lost in the Sauce. That doesn't really matter, because we're going to end up playing BuddyUp to flop the penguin. And that's one of the things that makes BuddyUp so powerful. Like, besides green Mega Penguin, there's no penguin that can't be flopped by BuddyUp. Maybe I'm missing another edge case, but overall, it's just so strong because it's the great equalizer. All right, so, but it's looking good for the next turn. I think we should be in a pretty good position. So yeah, so all right, so we will, yeah, and we're gonna go. So do we need to play around a board clear? So though they could be playing too cool for school, so they do have enough. They do have enough pudge to play that. And this deck maybe is playing too cool for school. So to play around too cool for school, we'll want to keep. So first of all, we'll play a rod. Okay, we also have checked the yellow pages, which is great because we can play that in response. And then we're going to try to hold stuff back in our hand a little bit, because we're definitely going to win with BuddyUp. But we also want to make sure that if they have removal, that we'll be able to still be on 14. All right, blue swordsman, or bashful swordsman. So okay, so one thing. Oh no, because it'll be flopped, so this won't matter. All right, so let's just draw first. Let's see what we get. All right, so we got one more penguin. I think we'll just draw again. So okay, yeah. So we'll draw 2 times. Up, we didn't hit. Okay. So we're at 15. So the question is, should we go all in? Yeah, I think we will, because if they clear the board, we'll still have a check the yellow pages. Well, we definitely want to play a rod either way if they clear the board. Okay, now I think we'll hold the flying penguin back, because if they end up clearing the board, if they have no, wait, they can't play too cool for school because they don't have 3 green pudge. Okay, so I think we just go all in. And we'll just be flopping. So we have to flop the swordsman and the points rich. So yeah, okay, so we'll play buddy up, flop the green wizard penguin. To pay for it, we need to flop. So we have the 8 vibe penguin who's late to the party. So we only need to flop the points rich penguin and the bashful swordsman penguin, and we'll be in a good state. All right, I almost hit pass there just out of reflex. So yeah, so we'll do those two, and this is why buddy up is such a powerful finisher. Like, as long as you're able to go wider than they are, you should be able to get there. All right, that was also a misplay. We should always let the flying penguin resolve before we do the next one. And the reason for that is if we put them both on the stack, they could respond now by playing an action to flop the bashful swordsman and the points rich. I mean, I guess there's no like multicolored action right now, but like let's say that they had a walk the runway. Now they know the information that I flopped this flying penguin. And so then if they had to walk the runway, they wouldn't they would know not to target this flying penguin. So you always just want to put them on the stack one at a time to play, like that's like the optimal line of playing. That being said, um, it is one additional click, like one additional waiting phase. So if you're trying to ladder as quickly as possible, I guess there could be an argument for like time value of money of or I guess time value of time or uh amount of ranks you go up a value of time where doing a slightly less optimal play because I think because I have so many penguins, it really is going to take my win rate down from 99.5% to 99.4% or something like that. So anyway, looks like we'll win this vibe check and we'll win this game as well. So again, this is just another game where this deck is playing out its game plan. It's very straightforward. You just keep doing the same thing, which is you get out on the board early, you draw cards. It's really, really strong against unoptimized decks, but it's not so. Once you start playing against like higher level players, this deck it is pretty easy to counter because all you need to do is clear the board, and if you clear the board, it's pretty straightforward. Or against red, it struggles a lot against red. All right, so looking at our hand, we have check the yellow pages, which is good because that's the card draw. And then, all right, so because we already have checked the yellow pages, the question is, do we want to keep PotStirringPenguin? And the problem with that is if we had like a flying penguin as well, I'd consider it. But okay, so maybe we'll keep it actually because all right, so that's a good question. Do we want to keep PotStirringPenguin? So uh I think the answer is no, because there's so many two fish penguins in here. I should really know because this is a situation that happens a lot, which is you start with one card draw card in your hand, and you have so the wizard penguin I would always keep. And the reason okay, so throwing it away was turned out to be the right move because as you can see, I drew the flying penguin as my 6th card. So by keeping the pot stirring in our hand, or by mulliganing it, we got the flying penguin, which is exactly what we needed. All right, so we'll and okay, so we also had the decision of um the question was we basically had buddy up and put your flippers in the air. So which one do you play as a rod? And there are certain matchups where put your flippers in the air is better than buddy up, but the vast majority of matchups it's the other way. So that's why I always keep buddy up if I don't know what I'm playing. Now, if they went first and I knew that they were green, I would have kept the put your flippers in the air. And the reason for green for keeping put your flippers in the air is because um, of the green mega penguin. All right, but they're yellow, like most of the ladder. All right, so it's a little sad to tie the vibe check because, again, as an aggressive deck, we want to end the game as quickly as possible. All right, so let's see. So, okay, so what do we want to play next turn? So the question is Penguin of the Falling Leaves. Oh, no. Okay, now it's really easy. Now we play Penguin who might bring a +1. So what do we play as a rod? So the question is it either BuddyUp or Penguin of the Falling Leaves? Because I don't really want to win the vibe check. I think I'm going to keep BuddyUp because my hand feels strong enough that I can afford to keep a spot for the finisher. Because one way you can lose with this deck is if you end up just not getting a finisher. Because really, you cannot win a vibe check without the finisher. Because everything, I mean, maybe with Penguin who's late to the party, but pretty much every Penguin has a vibe of 2. So by keeping the finisher in our hand, and we have so much card draw, right? We had Penguin who might bring a +1 and check the yellow pages. Now, that being said, we didn't hit with Penguin who might bring a +1. So if we end up just drawing 0 or 1 penguins with check the yellow pages, then we might end up in a situation where we will use the BuddyUp as a rod. But we can always do that next turn. So, all right, so it's really nice that they played PenguinWhoZooms because that is that's 3 vibe, and so that means we're going to lose the vibe check, which is good because we really want more cards because we want more card draw and we want more Pudge producing penguins to get the flywheel of this deck going. But okay, so let's see what else is going on. All right, so when we lose the vibe check, so we'll draw. Okay, so we'll get 2 more cards, and let's see what they are. Because I really want a flying penguin would be good. All right, second, check the yellow pages. And the reason I want the flying penguin is it would go nicely with, so I could play 2 penguins this turn, and in that case, I would have to use BuddyUp as the rod. So I still might end up using BuddyUp as the rod. It would be good to get some more additional information about what they're playing. Like, are they playing the starter deck, or are they playing the same list I'm playing, or are they playing the control deck? All right, so I cannot play the wizard penguin this turn because then I won't be able to play check the yellow pages. So I'm going to play it as a rod, just because I want to next turn probably play 2 penguins, and almost every penguin in here costs 2 fish. And so that will set me up. And I think with check the yellow pages, theoretically, and me losing the vibe check, and I'm pretty much guaranteed to lose the vibe check because, well, no, not really, because if they also play a check the yellow pages, then we will tie the vibe check. So this game, if we end up hitting 0 on check the yellow pages, it could maybe become a little more difficult for us. But basically, I'm just trying to greed it out as much as possible. Okay, yeah, so we're gonna tie the vibe check to keep the BuddyUp, but maybe I will have to play it as a rod depending on what happens here. All right, so they are playing Mysterious Penguin. So this is probably not the aggressive list. All right, so we both had the same luck. So nothing to complain about of only hitting 1 because they also only hit 1. And we did get Penguin who might bring a +1. So we still have 2 draws at getting another penguin. So we have the draw from Penguin who might bring a +1, which is guaranteed to be a penguin if it hits. And then we have just the normal turn draw. So, but the only penguin that would help us here to play 2, well, no, because if we drew a Prepare for a Wild Night, we wouldn't actually, oh, okay, now this doesn't matter because we'll still have 3 Pudge available no matter what. All right, so we're not going to play a rod, I think, because we drew the flying penguin. All right, so we miss again on the card draw. Okay, so we're able to go wider than them. So we're still winning on the going wide race. But, right, because we don't have a wizard penguin or a PotStirringPenguin, right now, if we play BuddyUp, we would actually not end up winning. So actually a Penguin of the Falling Leaves would be good because that would really make the BuddyUp math better. All right, even the PenguinWhoZooms is good. So that's one of the hidden benefits of this card is that it does have 3 vibe, which against yellow can actually be very useful. Just because when you play BuddyUp, then you only need to flop. You can use everything that's less than 2 vibe to flop all the things that are 3 or greater vibe. All right, so we have 2 PenguinWhoZooms. All right, so our card draw continues. So this deck has such a large amount of card draw in it. It's very, very normal that you can just like keep stringing your card draw together. So we'll be able to bounce both of these Penguin who might bring a +1 back to our hand. Well, we'll actually probably bounce one, play one, and then rebounce it. And hopefully we'll get something. I would prefer to keep the Daydreaming Penguin not as a rod. So one of the really nice things right now about Daydreaming Penguin in this situation is it's going to be able to flop. It's going to be able to remove these two penguins, which let's say that they were on 15 and winning the vibe check. I could knock them back down to 13 and get one additional turn. So, all right. So now so let's play this. Let's see what we draw. Wizard Penguin. So, okay. So we don't have any spells. So I think actually this would be a good turn to get the Wizard Penguin out there. Or no, actually we'll just play the Wizard Penguin as a rod because, right, the option was play one Wizard Penguin or play two PenguinWhoZooms. And the two PenguinWhoZooms, they both have the same amount of Pudge as one Wizard Penguin. So it's both, it's two Pudge versus two Pudge, but this has one additional Penguin, which is going to work better for BuddyUp. All right, so let's just do a check. They're at 10. We're at 10. So can we end this next turn? So we can go Penguin who might bring a +1, Penguin who might bring a +1, rod. So if we get a Flying Penguin, and we're going to have 4 draws at it. So if we get a Flying Penguin, we can get on 14. So will we get there with four draws? So there's 2 left in our deck, and I think there's 36 cards left. So it's actually not going to be super likely to get it, but you should always go for it. Again, we're playing an aggressive deck, and you just got to play for it. Like if you can end the game one turn earlier, it's a good decision. Now, okay, so BuddyUp math is starting to get a little more difficult. But okay, so we can. So let's see if we get the Flying Penguin. All right, we didn't get the Flying Penguin. We'll do one more draw at it. Okay, didn't get it. All right, so at this point, I think we'll use the BuddyUp as a rod just because we want to go as wide as possible next turn. We'll get the Penguin who might bring a +1 back in our hand. And yeah, so okay, so we're now at 13 to 13. So no one, so we can lose this 5 check again. And next turn we'll be playing BuddyUp. Now the question is, what if they play BuddyUp? I think in that case it's going to be a very tricky board state because when both people play BuddyUp, it can definitely get interesting. But we still should be able to come out on top, I think. Just because we're a little wider. And okay, so next turn, well, they're pretty wide too. Okay, so they actually might be wider than us. All right, so this is going to be a photo finish. All right, so we're just going to play everything. Okay, so we'll start with the card draw. All right, this is a perfect rod. And then we'll play PotStirringPenguin. Okay, PotStirringPenguin is really nice here because that's going to make us flop one less with BuddyUp. Okay, so that was a misplay. I thought this would come in its big form, but I didn't count correctly. So it would have been better to get Daydreaming out there. All right, but either way, I think I feel good because with BuddyUp, we have more penguins. I think we're up 2 penguins over them. So we'll play BuddyUp, use Pot Stirring. And so our biggest penguin is PenguinWhoZooms, which is a 3 vibe penguin. So all we basically need to do is flop their shy penguins. Well, we have to flop a lot of their penguins. So let's just do it. Let's do it one at a time. Because also, like, what I've done a few times is flop the same penguin, which is something that, then you end up wasting a flop and you can end up losing the game because of that. So let's just slowly go. And so we'll want to keep a PenguinWhoZooms is unflopped. Well, we'll actually have to also flop their PenguinWhoZooms. So do we have enough? I feel like we have enough. Yeah, we should have enough, right? I think we have to have enough. So let's just keep going. Also, even though they have no cards in their hand, right, they could have for example, What a Twist. And if they had a What a Twist, I think we can still beat it by one penguin. And even if we had played the Daydreaming Penguin, that would be we'd still only be able to bring them down to 14. But then if they had What a Twist, they'd go to 13. So it actually was a misplay if they had 2 What a Twists. Well, if they have 2 What a Twists with our Daydreaming, we'll still be fine. So I think it doesn't matter here, but it still would have been better to play the Daydreaming out instead of the +1. All right, so let's just keep continuing. All right, so they have 1, 2, 3 left. I have 3. Yeah, so okay, so we'll easily get there. So, yeah, so another game, basically following again, the game plan of this deck is very straightforward. You draw cards, or yeah, you look for card draw, you go really wide on the board, and then you end the game with a finisher. And in the games we've played today, we've done the same thing every game, and it's worked out every time. So again, to summarize, that this deck is it's not it's really good for having quick games, and they're very straightforward to play. So it's really just great for increasing your rank. And I think that with the meta like it is right now, with a lot of new players coming in, and the fact that matchmaking is random and it's not rank based, not skill based matchmaking, this deck is just very fast for getting through a lot of games quickly. All right, so we have okay, so we have to just do one more PenguinWhoZooms, and then we should get there. Yeah, so I think so that kind of finishes out how this game should go. And yeah. All right, so we need to do one more PenguinWhoZooms on their PenguinWhoZooms, and then that should be it. I think, and again, the reason I'm doing these one at a time is not because I think that I can't really think of a way where it matters in this game. Like maybe but it's really good to get into the muscle motions of doing all these like micro actions correctly, because if you're doing the micro always correct, then you're much less likely to mess it up in a critical situation, especially if it's like a turn where you're running out of time. Like knowing exactly how to be doing these micro actions really helps, just getting them really into your muscle memory. And I think that's one of the things you learn as you play a deck more and more. Like what are all the little things that, and again, it's with a card game, right? There are a lot of little like 1% decisions that make or let's say a 0.5% difference. But over the course of the game, there might be 20 or 30 of those. Oh, whoops, I didn't let this resolve. Yeah. So there might be 20 or 30 of those little micro decisions. And so then you can change your win rate maybe by 10% just by playing the micro correctly. And a 10% swing in win rate is very large. I think the other reason to do them one at a time is just these tracers don't always work correctly. And so if you can end up in the situation where you end up flopping the same thing, especially when you have a whole stack of these, then the tracers, if you get confused with the tracers, you can end up double flopping the same penguin. And if you were having exactly the right amount of penguins, then that would result in you losing the game. So, yeah. So I think that, but yeah, so I think now once this resolves, we should win the vibe check, and that will be the end of this game. Let's see. I think, yeah. The one thing that is a little frustrating is the way I'm doing it now by doing them one at a time, is that the opponent has to kind of sit through it. And I think they've started not paying attention because they've been just letting their timer run out. But I think that's fair. I think that's one thing that about BuddyUp as a card is there are a lot of clicks involved. Thanks everyone for watching. If you enjoyed this type of content, please subscribe to the channel. I will continue to be posting deck guides as well as gameplay footage. And also I have this deck design series during which I kind of talk more about the actual deck creation process. So until next time.